On ex-Mormon subreddit, you had a post that was titled, I think it was, "Is Julie Hanks getting oaxed?" So I guess that's like their thing right now, is they think President Oaks is taking over the church.
This is going to sound bad, but I'm just going to say it.
For the left and its obsession with dog whistles, I'm hearing a lot of very, very woke dog whistles here. Desnat says apostate to anything that's not Protestant.
In her defense, that's not her audience.
There's a reality of bad therapy going on, and I think what a lot of people are asking is she one of them? Be the best, you gotta beat the best. Or they made a fake email, which makes the anti-Julie Hanks side look really bad.
She always takes the contrarian position to the church.
The word apostate is thrown around like we're flipping burgers.
Julie is willfully ignorant of the impact that she's having.
However, I will tell you, a big reason not to is that you're showing up at Thrive.
To beat the best.
Got our scripture notes up and running. All of the scriptural references used in this episode will be brought to you by scripturenotes.com. For a free trial to Scripture Notes, please visit the link in the description. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to Ward Radio. I am your host, Cardinellis. Today I'm joined in the studio by Brittany the Shadow, as well as via Zoom by none other than Ethan Fawcett, writer for Ward Radio News, and Dr. Apocryphus himself, Jonah Barnes. And today we are going to be reacting to this article that just dropped on Ward Radio News, setting the record straight why Julie Hanks wants your support. And full disclosure, I have yet to read this article myself. And we're just going to react to it. So I brought some fun guys into the studio to see what's going on with Julie Hanks. She's been in LDSX, in the bloggernacle, in the proverbial headlines before the literal headlines came out here. Tell us what's going on, Ethan, or should we just read the article? What do you recommend, my man?
We can go through the article. It'll probably be the best way to kind of, I can kind of summarize as we go through the article, but basically it starts out because recently, and it has caused a bit of a stir online, she posted on her Instagram stories requesting letters of support from her fans, basically asking, like, send me examples of how you've been helped while staying in the church, while being a member of the church, so that I can share them with my priesthood leaders, or with, I think she said just with her leaders. Okay. And so a bunch of people reacted to that saying, well, wait a second. Why is Julie Hanks needing support with her priesthood leaders?
Yeah, it kind of smells like some church discipline there, right? Okay.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. That's the thought that a lot of people have. Is there a disciplinary council potentially coming? There was
how many people are cheering and how many people are crying? That's the question, right?
A lot both ways. Like on ex-Mormon subreddit, you had a post that was titled, I think it was, "Is Julie Hanks getting oaxed?" So I guess that's like their thing right now, is they think President Oaks is taking over the church, and so he's gonna start going after all these anti-Mormons.
Stupid. That is so based, though. That is so based. Like, just like we have Obamacare now, and we still name it after Barack Obama. The Affordable Care Act is still called Barack Obama. If President Oaks could co-opt excommunication,
Oaks communication,
Oaks communication, get rid of the apostates, you just got oaxed. Like, that would be such a Chad move. That would be hilarious. Okay, so basically, if I read, I'll just read here briefly the opening of your article. Very well done, my man. It says, by Ethan Fawcett. Oh, Luke didn't even tag his name on there. He just edited it. You wrote this whole. Good job, bro.
He helped me cut out some of the fluff, which was very needed, because there was a lot of stuff in this article initially. So Luke was very helpful, but yeah, okay. I wrote it.
So recently, Julie Hanks, a well-known Latter-day Saint life coach and therapist, posted an Instagram story asking her fans to, quote, email a letter of support that she can forward to her leaders. And there's the proof right there. You brought the receipts, and interestingly, she had the link right there on the bottom. And online critics of Hanks wondered if she was facing a potential disciplinary council for leading people out of the church through her social media and paid life coaching classes, which, I'm sorry, there's a reality of bad therapy going on. And I think what a lot of people are asking is she one of them? There's entire books being written about this, and the secular progressive movement has figured out it can more easily Trojan horse its anti-family and frankly anti-everything traditional and Western and good, can Trojan horse it into a lot of these religious communities by dressing up like wolves in sheep's clothing under the guise of bad therapy. And I've never seen more anti-family rhetoric espoused by anybody in the modern day than by half of these like faith transition coaches and, religious trauma coaches and all that other stuff. Now, as somebody who has spoken ad nauseum about the reality of scrupulosity and the reality of mental health and the importance thereof, I've got a big heart for therapists. So I want to reserve judgment until I have all of the issues. But at the same time, I can see why people would be dubious of her because there is an epidemic of bad therapy right now. So she posts this, and then you continue and say, a screenshot from the Latter-day Lobsters Facebook group even appeared to show someone was gathering emails of people who experienced damage from what Julie Hanks has done to their family or ward. And this is what I did see. I did see this popping up on Twitter.
Yeah.
What was this?
So this was I still don't actually know what this is. I have looked and searched to try to find the origin of it.
Okay.
Jacob Hansen.
I saw this too. Yeah.
Yeah. Jacob Hansen retweeted it. I saw it in my YouTube feed. And so it's really interesting, but, I went into the Latter-day Lobsters group. I got approved to join it, and I went and I scrolled back and I tried to find the original post. Like I really scrolled back. I even searched them, but I couldn't find.
So they took it down, huh?
Maybe they took it down, or I can't really figure out an explanation. Well, you've got this user William Grover that initially posted. I can't find that user. I can't find him on Facebook. I can't find him in the Latter-day Lobsters group.
So it was some alias.
I don't know if it just never existed or if it just got taken down or removed. I just don't know. But the email on there, I tried emailing it because I was like, I want to ask this person what their motivations are, and the email doesn't exist either. It's none of it's there. And so I don't know if I just can't find the original Facebook post, but for sure the email doesn't exist. Oh, is this the email you were telling me where it kept on getting triple bounced? And quadruple checked that I got the spelling right, and every time I email it I get the response that that the email doesn't exist.
So I can definitely see why this post would have been taken down. But Latter-day Lobsters, that's. I don't know. I hadn't been in that group before, but I love Jordan Peterson, but that group is not a clean space. They're totally nuts. But yeah, Bishop, putting the names of the leaders there, soliciting. Yeah, I don't know.
They put the names of the leaders there?
Yeah, that picture in the original post, it included the name of the bishop and the state president.
But hold on a second. Okay, I got to tell you, this kind of pisses me off. Like, I am all about trying to challenge bad ideas, and if Julie Hanks has them, then they need to be challenged. Okay? But at the same token, you do have to remember you're messing with people's lives here. She's messing she's messing with people's lives as a therapist and holds a burden of responsibility that hopefully she's been trained for and hopefully maintains the ethics thereof, right? But also
go on.
Okay. I guess we know where I guess we know where you stand, right? I am trying to reserve judgment. I've full disclosure, I've spoken at length personally with Julie Hanks, mano a mano, or mano a wo mano, whatever the correct whatever the correct terminology is. All right. And she did say her intention was not to harm the church. Okay. So, I choose to believe people until they give me a reason not to. However, I will tell you a big reason not to is that you're showing up at Thrive.
Yeah, holy cow.
That's a big reason not to.
Yeah, that's a little reason. Yeah.
So I gotta tell you, I'm still in the reserving judgment camp here where I'm calling balls and I'm calling strikes. And I can think of plenty of balls on Julie Hanks' side, but here's a strike on the anti-Julie Hanks side. If you come at the king, you better not miss. And if you're going to come at somebody in something that is tied to their livelihood or tied to their reputation online, you better not miss. And if you're going to say, William Grover, whoever you are, you're collecting emails of the damage that has been done by a therapist in a world where therapists have done immeasurable and unethical damage, that better not be a fake email that you just thought was a funny joke. Like, go. So if either this, either this guy chickened out, which makes him the coward, not Julie, or was this just a joke gone wrong? Did he erase the email later? You're a techie guy. You know what's going on, Ethan. What are you reading in the tea leaves?
And theoretically, there could have been some complaint. I mean, there's several different possible explanations here. And honestly, like, until we find someone who actually knows the person or is the person who is originally responsible for that, we can't find out. Can't find out for sure. But it definitely provides some sympathy for Julie Hanks that there's people out there willing to do stuff like this, as opposed to just challenging her on the merits.
But also, how do we know that it's not just some progmo trying to make their like,
that is technically a possibility too. Like, it could be someone like, let's make it look like the people against Julie Hanks look bad so that she gets extra sympathy points. So that is theoretically possible.
Because their side does not verify. Like, I'm sorry.
Like,
here I am.
The tough thing is, we're trying to verify, but we just can't. We can't say for sure.
Okay,
what's
well, hold
on.
on. Okay, so she asked for people to send in messages of support.
Yes, right here. I'm putting it up on the screen. Yes.
Somebody responds and says she's asking for letters of support. Can we not ask for letters of, receipts of her destroying families?
Well, we can.
But you guys think that it's fake?
Well, it appears so, because every time he tried to email the address, it got bounced back.
The email address doesn't exist.
So somebody
doesn't anymore.
Yeah, so somebody posted, and it got reposted a ton. Hey, we're trying to collect information on the negative impact of Julie Hanks because she's collecting information on her positive impact, and they seemingly wanted to provide anecdotal counterbalance to her anecdotal balance, right?
Sure.
Wait, so which one came first? Julie Hanks?
Julie Hanks.
Julie
Hanks came first. Okay. So this isn't somebody striking out on their own. Well, she first wanted to crowdsource. Yeah, but
apparently this person either chickened out or they made a fake email, which makes the anti-Julie Hanks side look really bad, because every time, Ethan, this is the one where you said you emailed it 3 or 4 times and it always got bounced back.
At this point, I'm at 6 times that I've tried to email it.
So wait, guys, this isn't rocket science. This dude posts this. He says, let's get these things. And someone contacts him, probably Bishop Hunter or President Yates or Elder Barlow, and says, get that crap out of here because my name's on that. Delete that stuff. And he's like,
well, if so, then he chickened out. He could have still collected the pictures and just changed the post on Latter-day Lobsters to remove their names, because it didn't have their names in the protectthechurchfromjulie@gmail.com. It didn't say, oh, we're going to tell on Julie with Yates, Barlow, and Hunter. So if whoever this was, it seems like they either chickened out or else they were told to step down and wimped out. Okay, which at the end of the day, who can complain that people aren't being vocal enough against Julie Hanks? Because let me tell you, Mormonism is full of pansies and beta males. All right, everybody in Mormonism just worships niceness culture. They have all got, let me tell you, Julie Hanks has gotten more people fired, all right, by people speaking up against her. Like, I've met 3 people that have called me about how, like, oh, I was going to write an article, or else, oh, I was opining in a chat room, or oh, I was in a conversation, and then I mentioned something that I didn't like about Julie Hanks, and then so-and-so's wife is a big fan of hers. So-and-so's aunt is a big whatever of hers, and that, like, got me fired, got me disciplined, got me ostracized, whatever. Like, this woman has a lot of power, and her fans are worse than Swifties. Okay?
Okay,
you know
okay. So tell you what. So why don't you do it?
What?
So why don't you do it?
Do which thing? Oh, collect stories? Yeah. Oh, dude, you know what? I actually, absolutely. I have an open invite to Julie Hanks right now. I have an open invite where she was a little bit dismayed about some things that were said by people on this channel. So I agreed to correct the record. Some people had challenged her credentials, specifically her, not documentation, her certification from a brick and mortar university. I don't remember the name of the certification, but I do remember that it was real. She is actually indeed a licensed therapist that's held to certain standards and so on and so forth. And she felt those credentials had been besmirched. So in order just to act in good faith, I said, hey, she's fully credentialed. Whether or not, you feel what she's doing is ethical or not, we should collect that information and have a discussion. But I do correct the record that she is indeed certified and so on and so forth. And look, when people come at you in social media and you feel the cancel culture mob is coming at you, I don't think it's the best time to make decisions. So I said, look, I'll tell anybody and everybody that I have influence over that we're going to give you a 6-week, vacay from people challenging you, at least from the position of this channel. All right. But I want you to really stop and think and meditate on what you're doing and how you want to, present yourself, and come on my show and do exactly that. Present yourself and let's talk, because there's two things that need to happen in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I think there needs to be a more widespread understanding of scrupulosity, cognitive behavioral therapy, understanding of mental illness. I think bishops should have some low-level training so they can be kind of like a first aid before we dump them off. I shouldn't say dump them off, but hand them off to LDS Family Services and so on and so forth. So there needs to be that training on the faithful side, right? But at the same token, there needs to be some freaking accountability for these psycho, cruel, and frankly unethical therapists that are the subject of books like Bad Therapy that are destroying families with, ironically, marriage and family therapy licenses, and those people need to be held to account too. And I think, Julie, what better person than somebody who seems to have one foot in each one of these camps to talk about this? Because let me tell you, I think most people perceive her, would you say, as pro-Mormon or anti-Mormon?
Who perceives her as pro-Mormon?
I would say,
joking?
I think a lot of women that have been heavily influenced by feminism and secularism that are trying to fit square pegs into circular holes perceive her as progressively Mormon, not anti-Mormon.
I think she's a voice for a lot of women.
Yeah, she does appear to fit well or to relate well with a lot of suburban women in the church, particularly in Utah, although I'm sure it branches out of Utah.
The awfuls, the affluent white female ultra liberals? Is that what you're saying?
She relates to doubt.
Yeah.
She sympathizes with doubt. She just relates to doubt. It's the easy buck.
And she will, and we'll see this in her response, because I reached out to her to basically asking for clarification, saying, hey, like, defend yourself. Like, what would you say here? And she did say that this is what she does. She goes, after people. She seeks out to help people that are having a hard time.
Well, in her defense, though, like, this is again where I know this pisses off a lot of my conservative friends here, and I'm not here to defend Julie Hanks. I'm trying to be a neutral arbiter, but I will say, in her defense, I've spoken to a lot of women who do not know her for her controversial social views. They know her as the person with an Instagram profile that reminds them that you're just fine the way you are, and even if you're overwhelmed as a mom of 4 with a calling and a job and a this and a that you're good enough how you are. And just like Young Men Worldwide sucks, and they didn't have an Instagram profile until 2024, and their Instagram profile they have now looks so much like Young Women Worldwide. It looks like an embarrassing, like digital doily on the Young Women's lounge chair, and it's almost unintelligible from the female content. They're literally very lacking in the social media department. I think women like Julie Hanks have gained celebrity by simply being better at social media and the, shall we say, social progressive message than the apparent actual church is. If the church were good at Instagram and they have all the resources to be, then Julie Hanks wouldn't have the hundreds of thousands of followers that she does. We wouldn't be writing this article. We wouldn't have this discussion. And then all the people that think that she's harmed their family wouldn't have a gripe because the church would be filling the void that she is. It's a dereliction of duty on behalf of the social media department of the church that we're even in this situation.
I do agree because I also think Julie Hanks, she's not afraid to talk about the topics that most conservative church members shy away from. And so people who are wondering or have questions but maybe don't feel comfortable talking to their leaders or talking to other people in the ward, they can go to that Instagram and be like, oh my gosh, I was wondering about that too. Oh, she's finally talking about it. And then they're getting her opinion on the matter. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't follow Julie Hanks. I don't know exactly I have a general idea, but I just think in social media.
Well, she might watch this, so I need to interrupt you and mansplain. So
I was about to be like, excuse me. But what I was going to say, it's like, I feel like the church, they really need to put the hard discussions out on social media, because that's where people are going in social media. They're not going to the church publications. They're going to their Instagram profile. They're going to TikTok to figure out what do they think about XYZ argument. And Julie Hanks does that really well.
That's a really good point, because Cardin, based on what you were saying, I was actually going to disagree because Julie Hanks, I think the reason she works isn't because the church isn't doing stuff, but because her content feels similar to the content that the church does put out. And so people have this idea in their head or this feeling about how church content or church related stuff should appear online. And then they see her and she kind of fits right into it. And so
do you think that it's the wolves in sheep's clothing effect is what you're saying?
I mean, you could call it that, but to Brittany's point, the church often doesn't approach these tough topics. And so then people going through Instagram, they see her, it feels like she fits right in with church-related stuff, and she has answers for people. She goes through hard subjects. She helps. She makes people feel empowered and stuff, and she's doing it in a way that feels really relatable to a lot of
and defies the church. Says her. Priesthood is a patriarchy, and I mean, I've pulled up a profile.
I disagree with her on several things.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
Yeah.
Look, it looks good. Like honestly, like case in point. To your point, Ethan. Look at Julie Hanks' social media profile here. Now, okay, I'm going to take this down for a second. And now let's look up Young Women Worldwide. Young Women Worldwide Instagram. If I pull up Young Women Worldwide Instagram, boom shakalaka. Here's Young Women Worldwide Instagram. Here's Dr. Julie Hanks Instagram. You're right. It's, as we would say in Spanish, tal cual. Now, to also fairly represent Jonah's side here, who's deeply calling into question bad therapy. I know his family's been affected by this. I would say what Brittany is describing, if I understand you correctly, babe, is that there's a frustration amongst some, I don't want to say conservative members of the church, but members that have been negatively impacted by bad therapy, that she is like a gateway drug to social progressivism, which is inherently anti-family if you follow all of its logical conclusions.
Yeah, I mean, it is anti-family. It's anti-family. I mean, so this type of bad therapy only leads to broken relationships. Like that's where it goes. Relationships are inherently sacrificial. That's what they are. You have to sacrifice to listen to someone else, to sympathize and empathize with someone else's problems. And she teaches the complete opposite. She says, all your problems are someone else's fault. You know, the church, she always takes the contrarian position to the church. Now, I, for one, call me crazy, believe that this church wasn't set up by men.
Oh, yeah.
It was set up by a man. That man is the creator of the heavens and the earth.
And he called 12 men.
Bled for me.
Yeah.
Right? That's who I believe set up this church.
Let's give her credit.
Okay, that's who I believe set up this church. And so when Julie Hanks is like, I'm going to help people leave the church healthily.
Oh,
they're leaving the church. They're leaving their family. They're leaving their parents. They're leaving their uncles. They're leaving that Thanksgiving dinner that I can't see my nephews and nieces at because of people like you, Julie. And she sends these messages out to, she doesn't even know whom. She sends them out to hundreds of thousands of people. And then she hides behind this, well, I don't know what people choose to do. You know exactly what they choose to do, Julie. You know what they choose to do. They choose to break up their relationships and their families out of some because of some mental health that they need. And it's the polar opposite of Christianity. This isn't even Mormonism. This is basic Judeo-Christian ethic.
Yeah.
You're supposed to care about others more than you care about yourself.
So
you're supposed to sacrifice. It's not about you and self-worship. She takes the opposite position of the apostles of the church again and again and again. I, for one, happen to believe those men are apostles, not of the church. They're apostles of Jesus Christ. That's what I happen to believe. So when you take when you watch General Conference and you listen to what they say, and then you prepare an Instagram post saying, don't listen to these idiots, listen to me instead, I think you're being a jerk, and I think you're being apostate. That's what I think.
Okay.
And I don't think that's crazy.
I'm going to try and contextualize some of your ire here. I'm putting on the screen her social media profile. And by the way, I haven't looked at this in months. I'm looking it up right now. But one of the first glaring examples I see is this first post that says how to set boundaries around what you will and won't talk about with others. And I've seen a ton of articles. This is just the first one that popped up that just came up as well. But I've read a ton of articles how this boundary dog whistle is ruining human relationships everywhere. That this boundary advice is secretly destroying your relationships. And now this is just one very small example of a billion and so on and so forth. But there is this entire lexicon of woke that has stolen all of these words. You know, boundaries are meant to keep toxic relationships from influencing the healthy part of what's left, not to be this finger wagging thing that woke scolds throw in the face of their believing brothers and sisters to say, until you repent and become woke like me, we can't talk about X, Y, or Z thing. You can't see your grandkids. You're uninvited from, I don't know, the family picnic, and teaching people how to set up boundaries against toxic patriarchy, aka your brother, aka your father, aka your roommate from college that you got along with until the ex-Mormon subreddit got a hold of you.
Yep. Now you never speak to him because he thinks you're a racist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is toxic bad therapy.
I shouldn't have. Maybe I'm being too harsh. Here's what I take issue with. Julie is willfully ignorant of the impact that she's having. Deep down, she knows what she's doing.
Do you think so?
I do. I think she's far too smart not to know. She's tearing down the church for profit, but doing it coyly and smartly so that she can't be caught for it. And look, Julie, if you're sincere, if you're really sincere, and you want to help people. Don't blast your dirty laundry and all your criticisms of God, Jesus, and his apostles to the entire planet. Get off social media. Stop sending those things off to hundreds of thousands of strangers.
Now I was going to say,
doing this?
I was going to say, do you have an example though? And I just cruised through the social media and it was like, oof, the first one that I see in purple is, does your faith no longer fit?
Yeah.
And modesty is not what girls wear. Right. And I was like, these are all for the left and its obsession with dog whistles in the early 2000s, like you weren't allowed to be like a law and order candidate because that was a dog whistle for racism. I'm hearing a lot of very, very woke dog whistles here. And I don't think that's I don't think that's an automatic condemnation of being anti-family, but I got to tell you, it's to people that are sensitive to it, that have been affected by it. I think this is what I said. This is one of the few quotes that I can remember from our conversation, which was lovely. And she was a very cordial and decent person. So in the one interaction that I've had with her, she has been wholly decent in every way. We disagreed on some things, okay, but we agreed on others. And one of the things I did say, though, was I said, if you feel you've been falsely accused and you actually say you love the church like you claim to, and I believed her, and that you don't want to do damage to the church, which she claims, and I believed her, I said, there's a lot of things on your social media profile that could lead me to believe you're anti-Mormon. And in the absence of a lot of things that could lead me to believe you're pro-Mormon, I when I look at the width and breadth of your social media, I see a lot of stuff that could be easily confused as anti-LDS, but I don't see a lot of stuff that could be easily confused as pro-LDS.
Nothing.
I wouldn't say,
because it makes no money. It doesn't get you any clout to just say, you know what, these guys, these apostles, these anointed chosen of the Lord said it better than I. Go tune into General Conference. That doesn't make you any money.
Wow, so I guess we know what role you're playing in Good Cop, Bad Cop. You know,
every time they speak, sitting in the corner and just waiting for something to criticize. Well, actually, he doesn't have experience as a woman like I do. Actually, that doesn't apply 100% of the time. He's not seeing you like I see you. Just jumping in every opportunity is like,
okay, so Jonah.
Okay, gee, we're shocked that
I
people
see you.
Think you're anti-church?
Look, the inner progressive is coming out of me. I see you, and you're validated, my friend. At the same token,
I have family trauma coming at this because people like this. I have a little family trauma.
At the same time, it wasn't.
I can't believe I destroyed your family relationships. I was just trying to be a good therapist. It's like.
At the same time, it's not Julie Hanks that told your beloved family member not to speak to you. It wasn't her exactly. It was somebody that seemingly through her social media presence might sound a lot like her. But we do believe in this country and in the Bible that the father shall not carry the son shall not carry the sins of the father.
You're right.
So
now what Julie does is she democratizes that bad advice to hundreds of thousands of strangers every day. So instead of directly telling someone, cut off your family, she just throws it out for everyone.
Okay.
I don't think our fight is with Julie Hanks, though. I feel like it's kind of on the church and kind of not combating any of that, especially on social media. Like, this is going to sound bad, but I'm just going to say it. Enough of the hear him videos. Like, we all know, right? We all know about faith. We all know about Jesus. We get it. We need more of those little sound bites that Julie is saying where, come out and say modesty it's not just what girls wear. Talk about men. You can be modest too in thoughts, in the way you act, in maybe not driving your sports car to church and maybe not wearing your Armani suit or what, I don't know. I just instead, there's so many talks that the church does. That's great, but they don't put it on social media, and people are on social media. And so if you're not seeing that from the church, you're going to find it elsewhere, and it's going to cause confusion.
Nobody's forcing Julie Hanks to say these things. I just want everyone to know. No one's forcing her to do these things. Look, I agree. I agree. The church needs to be better at social media. Absolutely. But the church didn't force Julie Hanks to come out and say,
but they also refuse to listen. They refuse to listen.
Okay. All right. Agreed. But no one's forcing Julie. Look, I know they refuse to listen. I don't go out and look for every opportunity to criticize Jeffrey R. Holland's talks. No one's forcing Julie to do these things. She's choosing to do these things.
So I get it, but I just realized something. Let me try and contextualize my angst. You have a lot of angst because a sin has been committed against you by bad therapists that have destroyed your human relationships of people that you love. And that those bad therapists need to be held to account for their sin of commission. But something I have vowed to do on this channel is make sure that we do not overlook the sins of omission. Sins of omission are just as bad, in my opinion. Sometimes, if not worse, because they're hard to point out. And I think one of the greatest derelictions of duty in the 21st century is the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints absolutely refusing to engage on the internet the way it should be since it came out. And I think had that sin of omission not been caused, Julie Hanks would have no wind in her sails, supposing that she is the worst that she's accused of being. Like we kind of get into this, how do you fight the drug war argument? Do you prosecute the drug dealers, or do you prosecute the drug users, or is it a mixture of both, right? I kind of feel like the Julie Hankses of this world, if she is indeed just a progmo that wants to tear down the church, or just can't help herself, or doesn't want to put down the money, or whatever the worst is that her detractors want to accuse her of, even if that is true, is the Church of God not supposed to be good enough at combating that? Like, we're still the only live stream in North American Mormonism.
I was actually going to add to that, because I don't think this is necessarily a problem with the church directly. I think it's more of a condemnation of the members of the church. I think the messaging from the apostles, from the brethren lately has been pretty clear that more and more of the responsibility is on us to choose to stand up for the gospel, to stand up for the Savior. I think that's very intentional. I think it's likely that Jesus wants the membership of his church to become better at actually standing up for the truth while simultaneously being peacemakers. But that's a whole other discussion, right? But the fact that Word Radio and a few other similar channels are like the only ones out there talking about this stuff, and the people that are avoiding the difficult things are the ones getting money by the rich members. You can talk about some of the different foundations out there that are affirming some of the other organizations, and then those organizations explicitly avoid anything controversial. That's more of a condemnation on the members of the church, I would say.
Now, I'm going to get back to the article, but Jonah, in your defense now, I got to say, dude, I just went down her social media profile and look, first post again after I scroll down, feminism says you get to choose your own path. Yeah. Oh, and also a lot of other crap that's horrible. Like abortion is an affirmative good. Men are horrible. Priesthood is patriarchal. Or do as thou wilt.
Julie Hanks is do as thou wilt.
Okay, well, hold on a second. That was actually Aleister Crowley, but next
I know,
post.
that's why I said it, because Julie Hanks is do as thou wilt. She's Aleister Crowley, just with bleached hair and a doctor before her name.
Okay, from a brick and mortar. Make sure you got to make sure you put that in there. From a brick and mortar.
Whatever.
Okay,
great.
But anyway, then I look at this. But how do you stay in the church as a question mark? Now I get that there might be a supposedly faith affirming answer to that, but whenever it's presented as a question mark, that's another erosion. Bishops are not therapists. Look, I'm sorry. I think oftentimes they're better than therapists, and having somebody that is interested in your non-financially interested in your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being, giving you advice mano to mano can be some of the best bedside manner out there. So yes, they're not therapists. And I did just say earlier in this podcast that I think they need some mental health training, but at the same token, I could see how that's perceived as corrosive.
Bishops aren't paid.
Yeah.
Because therapists are paid, Julie.
And the
therapists
next
are
one,
paid, Dr. Hanks. Bishops aren't paid. How about that? Is that what you mean when you say they're not therapists? That they don't have a financial incentive?
Yeah,
because they don't.
Okay, and then I look at this, never apologize for crying. Okay, yeah, but also there's value in stoicism, and we're taught to cry all the time instead of being stoic. And then also, women will never feel fully empowered outside of the home until there's partnership at home. We have had so much of this woke anti-man, men are horrible garbage. Like, women are allowed to do anything they want with zero repercussions in our society. Women can falsely accuse people of rape on national television, like Christine Blasey Ford did to Brett Kavanaugh. Not Brett Kavanaugh. What was his name?
Yeah, Brett Kavanaugh.
Oh yeah, Brett Kavanaugh. Yeah. For weeks at a time, for 22 days, he was put through the laundry mill of gang rape accusations, drunken rape accusations, accusations without the ability to defend himself, all under a hashtag that is, you have to believe all women or you're a misogynist. So don't give me this crap that women need more empowerment. They've had so much empowerment. There's zero responsibility in modern society. They can literally ruin a man's life without fear of any repercussion. That's how far the pendulum of feminism has swung. So when people like Jonah come out and say, excuse me, I've got a listening ear to that, because here I don't see a single thing that comes down on women saying like, look, men have unique problems, and, patriarchy might be one of them, but guess what, ladies? We have unique problems too. At church, we gossip way too much, and we destroy way too many human relationships through our gossip, and we need to, censor ourselves, look at the mote in our eye before we test the beam in the men's eye, and fix that. I don't see a lot of that here. Now, she doesn't get paid for that. That's why bishops might be better counselors in that regard, but I see where you're coming from.
Cardin, what you're missing is that actually she is basing her teachings off of woke Jesus. We have some memes here, people. Let's get memes.
Oh, we got memes.
Yeah, we've got some memes.
Some memes.
Right? That's what you come here for.
Are they in the Discord?
Right? I don't know anything about therapy. Okay, that's not why you listen to me. Okay, you're listening for the memes. Okay. So we've got a couple of memes here. There's 6 of them. Okay. Well, first of all, let's go to the main meme here. Let's go to Julie Hanks reporting on CNN. Can we go to that one first?
I just see Julie Hanks in front of a CNN meme, and it looks like it's the mostly peaceful protesters meme.
Well, it's a fiery but mostly peaceful advice. It's like, hey, my advice is totally peaceful and fiery, but it's peaceful. I'm not trying to rip people out of the church. I'm just trying to show them exactly how to leave their church and all their relationships and feel justified in doing so. But hey, it's mostly peaceful.
Has she ever, well, in her defense, has she ever actually posted a link to quitmormon.com or just told people how to navigate out of it, kind of similar to Alyssa Grenfell in her book?
Her focus is on how to help people do so. And this is what she would say in an emotionally healthy manner, basically like saying these are people that are pretty much already choosing to do so, or maybe they're already really struggling. So she'll talk to them and say, oh, you're struggling with patriarchy. Well, that's valid. So she'll validate the pain and the discomfort that they're having. And then she will give them the tools through her coaching, her courses, whatever it is, her podcasts, so that they can do so in a way that feels better, I suppose. I haven't gone through any of it, but
she's the Dr. Kevorkian of people's consciences. That's what she is.
Okay, there's a lot of pop culture references there. I gotta process really fast.
Remember Dr. Kevorkian? He was the assisted suicide guy.
Oh no!
What she does is she says, "Come to me, and I will teach you how to massage your conscience to sleep and snuff it with a pillow. I'll teach you how to do it,
geez,
so you can feel good." No, but I'm serious. To how you can feel good leaving your family and never speaking to your parents or your.
Well, now at this point, we're assigning dirty motives.
All right.
Yeah, so I would say what she would say in that case is, listen, like these are people already going through this, and they deserve to have someone help them. And so if it's not her, then it's, ex-Mormon subreddit, and they'll just get dragged down like an awful, horrible hole. And so in this case, she's helping them because at least they're slightly better off than they
here's the rest of the article just really fast. So you talked to her.
Otherwise.
You spoke to her. Was it on the phone or what?
Not on the phone. We had an email chain back and forth. I had several questions which are presented in the article, and she responded to each of the questions. We edited down her responses a bit because they were kind of lengthy, but we made sure to keep the spirit of everything that she was saying in there.
Okay, so here I'll just read it really fast. Question. The Instagram story you posted wasn't necessarily clear on what the letters of support you solicited were for. I think it's likely that some assumptions were made. Could you clarify what the letters of support are? Oh, interesting. Okay, so she says...
And this, she did put another post out on Instagram later, clarifying that there is no disciplinary council, and then she'll explain the rest in this response here.
Yeah, to clarify my request for letters of support, my request was not because of a disciplinary council. I'm being proactive in collecting support letters because there have been increased interest by my leaders to, quote, check in with me. Historically, when that's happened, it's because they've been receiving complaint emails or they're just doing their due diligence. Like check in. I'm sorry. I get calls of people checking in with me, and half the time it's just because I'm new in the ward. Our stakes were merged. They don't know who I am. They saw that I made a loudmouth comment.
In the past, that wasn't the case for her, because in the past, as I understand, her husband was the bishop and her husband's friend was the stake president. So they were all on pretty close terms. But if I understand correctly, that changed. It might be a few months ago, sometime this year. And so now her husband is no longer the bishop and her husband's friend is no longer the stake president. And so there's new leadership here. And so if they're getting the same complaints that the two before were, and they don't really know what to do about this, they're saying, hey, can we talk to you about this? What's going on here? Can you please explain? So that's probably what's going on. It sounds like.
Okay, well, dude, you're a good reporter, bro, man. Like, look at these questions. Well, no. First off, she says my local leaders have reached out to check in, which has historically meant they have received some complaint emails. My bishop and stake president are new, so I want to prepare for the meeting with positive emails to counterbalance any complaint emails they may have received from Desnat, Jacob Hansen, etc. Dude,
I thought you'd like that.
Oh, did she name Jacob Hansen and Desnat?
Yeah, that's a quote from her.
These people live in both of their heads rent free. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like these people.
Jacob responds later in the article.
Wait, you talked to Jacob too?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Ward Radio. I love this. I love when all the heads of the different hydras come on one podcast together. This is hilarious. So the invitation on my Instagram may have, that may have received from Desnat, Jacob Hansen, etc. The invitation on my Instagram stories to send emails of support to PAC was a proactive decision on my part, so I could present leaders with examples. Interesting. How would you respond to critics who say your work assists in leaving the church? Oh, you just plain old asked her that point blank?
Well, I mean, that's what our critics are saying, so.
Wow. Okay, she said the claim that my work is centered around assisting people in leaving the church is absolutely false. I've never encouraged anyone to leave the church. One aspect of my work, however, is assisting people who are going through the emotional upheaval and relational fallout because of a faith transition. Ooh, well, then you do have the chicken and the egg argument is... Well, what's okay?
Yeah, and there's some stuff that Rachel from the Women in Priesthood channel did recently, and Julie actually if I'm not mistaken, references that video. I'm not aware of anything else that it could have been that she was referencing.
Ooh, she brings up a car example. Oh my gosh, thank you, Julie. We need more automotive. And as Rachel Patterson said, what'd she say on our Women of Ward Radio?
Less sports analogies, references? More birth analogies.
Yeah, less sports analogies, more birth analogies. And as a guy that doesn't follow sports, I appreciate the automotive analogies.
Oh, yeah. So, and my wife's a doula. I've heard lots of birth stories, and let me tell you, they're good. It's a great idea.
Okay, so she says, no one blames mechanics for broken down cars or plumbers for broken pipes. Why am I blamed for helping people who are in pain because of a faith crisis? At my therapist clinics in Utah, we work with people going through faith transitions every single day. Faith crises often leave people feeling isolated, alone, and in need of emotional health tools and relationship skills. I believe people in faith crises are just as deserving as anyone else of respect, love, support, and psychologically healthy tools. Oh, you raised your hand, Jonah.
Ooh, I know. Because mechanics try to restore the car, not cannibalize it for cash.
Oh, jeez. Well, if they're a good mechanic.
Am I right? I mean, no one blames mechanics.
And I was going to say,
they try to fix cars. What are you talking about? They're not, you're talking about a chop shop. You're not a mechanic. You're a chop shop. Well, wait, I'm just sticking with the metaphor, right? She's the Dr. Kevorkian of people's relationships.
Okay, I think an illegal mafioso's bootleg chop shop is a little bit different than Firestone Automotive, but I understand your...
because Firestone Automotive is trying to save your car. Right? Not chop it up and sell it aftermarket.
You're going to be on her next list. She's going to say, they may have received emails from Desnat, Jacob Hansen, Rachel Patterson, and Jonah Barnes. You and your little Santa hat are going to be on her next letter.
As long as Jonah doesn't send an email to her stake president, because I guess Jonah did, or Jacob did do that at one point.
Oh boy.
He clarifies in his response. But
okay.
I was going to say one thing that's a good distinction to make here is that Julie Hanks, she is a licensed therapist, but she also does work where she acts as a life coach, and then she's got the online influencer stuff. And that's a tricky position to be in for someone like her. And it's honestly really easy to potentially go outside the bounds of what you should be doing. And so it's not a great system. And this is an issue in Utah generally, but because of the life coach thing, life coaches don't have the same liability that they have to stand up to as therapists. Right. And so in a private therapy practice, she might be doing what she's supposed to be doing with people that are having faith struggles, providing them with the tools and just, giving the psychological therapist resources and then kind of backing off from there. But her online coaching and her courses, that's all done through the life coach avenue. So that has a different level of liability. And so there could be something going on there to critique, but you'd have to really do a deep dive of that. I think Rachel Patterson has done some of that.
Well, this is a really good question where you just simply said, what would you want to clarify about any criticisms of your work? And she said, a recent video critiquing my online offerings.
And that's Rachel Patterson's video.
Yeah, focused only on courses or groups designed for people experiencing faith crises. And she feels that some of her content was omitted. In fact, she said, no one mentioned my Q&A series called Choosing to Stay in the LDS Church ? How to do so in a psychologically healthy way. Now, I got to tell you, as somebody that's sensitive to bad therapy, I bristle at that and say, like, what do you mean how to do that? Kind of implies that the average bear is doing it in a psychologically unhealthy way. Like, that's kind of like a backhanded compliment where you go up to the hottest chick in a party and you just say, oh yeah, you'd be really pretty if you wore different jeans. You know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden they're self-conscious and all about you and pleasing you. This is a totally bad example. And of course, I'm sure like all of the feminist, life coach.
And Rachel responded to that in her response as well at the bottom of the article.
Okay, so it says that offering was left out of the video because it doesn't fit the narrative that she's trying to lead people out of the church that people felt the critics like to perpetuate. So point blank, bro. She says, I'm creating content for people who are in pain. My vision is for Latter-day Saints across the spectrum to have a happy, healthy, thriving life, meaningful connections with each other. This all seems like good stuff, but at the end of the day, at the Nuremberg trials, there wasn't a single general who was a Nazi that said, oh yeah, I'm an anti-Semite. I agreed with Hitler. There's not a good Jew, right? But at the same time also, there's people that want to call us apostate. The word apostate is thrown around like we're flipping burgers at the freaking Labor Day barbecue. And Desnat says apostate to anything that's not Protestant at this point.
I was going to say on one of the ex-Mormons on Reddit, they did say, man, why does this kind of stuff never happen to Ward Radio? Like they were kind of frustrated about it almost.
Because that'd be a short disciplinary council.
Yeah, well also, but we get called apostate all the time. So it's like, it's that horseshoe effect sometimes where it's like the Progmos and Desnat are way too weirdly similar than they are apart, even though they act like they're on different ends of the spectrum. Their behavior is almost unintelligibly different of like the three people in Desnat that still exist, right? So anyway, I would just say she's got all of these good sound bites saying, I'm trying to defend the church, I'm trying to help, I'm trying to build up the church, so on and so forth. So we know the anti-Mormons never confess to it. John DeLynn says his channel's not anti-Mormon. Oh, it's just informed consent. Right. And you talk to Mike Winger and he's like, oh no, I'm not anti-Mormon. I'm just pro the real Jesus, right? So anti-Mormons never fess up for that. And what's anti-Mormon rule number 8? I think it's they always shroud their cruelty in noble sound bites. So we know anti-Mormons lie. And if she's anti-Mormon, she's going to lie. But at the same token, we also know that people make snap judgments. And exercise unrighteous dominion in that judgment, because we've been a victim of that judgment as well. So we have to rely on people we trust to tell us what's up. So I trust you, Ethan. Tell me, in your opinion, and you're going to have to overcome some personal biases of being afraid of what somebody might think, or afraid of what the internet might say tomorrow, or afraid of whatever. I don't know if Julie's got your email right now and she's going to start spamming you like, Teletubbies ads or something. But in your opinion...
Teletubbies ads.
I just thought of something like heinous to get repetitively in your email inbox. Right?
That's true. That would be awful.
That'd be like awful. So, I guess I would say, do you believe her? Do you believe that she's actually trying to do good and maybe just mistaken in her approach and could do with some counseling?
I would say that for those of us, well, let me preface it by saying this. So I think, and this is something that we talk a lot about at Ward Radio, is that there is an increasingly damaging suburban culture in the church. So you see it a lot in Utah, especially I would say in wealthy parts of Utah. This isn't really as much of an issue in less affluent areas. And it's this idea that you've got to be nice, you've got to say the right things, you've got to not be politically incorrect, and that kind of culture plays very easily into the woke ideologies that we see becoming more and more prevalent. It's also very susceptible to pop psychology. I think it's the same reason it was susceptible to MLMs and hypercharismatic motivational speaker people. I've got a lot of personal history in that. And so it's this kind of culture that breeds these people that are susceptible to this type of stuff. I think what we see with Julie Hanks, you might be able to call it pop psychology, at least in her Instagram offerings, because pop psychology is designed to do well on the internet. And ultimately, I think you don't necessarily even have to ascribe her motivations to anti-Mormonism, because it could entirely be that she's trying to be that nice person. And this is like the full manifestation of suburban niceties. And so this is a person that might legitimately think she's doing everything right. But in that process is actively assisting people in leaving the church, and is attending the Thrive conference, and is going on the Mormon Stories podcast, and is doing all the things that you would expect an anti-Mormon to do, because progressive Mormonism has
But does she not have
somehow lined those things up together side and side?
Yeah, but does she not have any strong men in her life? Like is her husband not aware? Like, honey, you're speaking at Thrive. Like if you have Jewish friends and you were to go speak at Unite the Right in Charlottesville, if you were to go to Richard Spencer's little neo-Nazi conference up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and then come back and your Jewish friends are looking at you saying, so do you hate us now? Are you an anti-Semite now? Your Instagram profile that's saying from the river to the sea. Do you realize that that's an anti-Semitic trope? Are you mistaken, or are you just with Richard Spencer now? John Dehlin is the epitome of the anti-Mormon, not just critic of the church, antagonist, anti-Mormon of the church that is profiting off of the misery of people in a health crisis. And you are a headliner? So does she not have a husband that just steps up and says, honey, no, okay.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? Does she not have a brother? Is there no brother that she has? I know she's a Deus Avedo. Like she's from the stake that I grew up in, like 5 miles from where I live. Half of her brothers played with, they're all older. They played with my friends' dads in basketball and theater projects and film projects. Her father did all the Living Scriptures soundtracks, and half the people that sang for his soundtracks sang at my mission farewell and everything. Like, did none of these guys pull her aside and say, Julie, I love you. Yeah, you're right. We're way too patriarchal. I butchered that pronunciation. Yeah, we mansplain too much, like all that other stuff. That's fine and good. But Thrive? But Richard Spencer's thing? Like, no, come on. No, step back from the ledge. Step back from the ledge. Does she not have that in her life?
Well, I want to just say, like, if you're saying this to a customer in a therapy session, I guess that's one thing. I still don't agree with it. But you're not. You're blasting this out to strangers. Many of whom are investigating the church for the first time. And your profile is 100% negative. It's just the church it implies.
Well, is it though?
The church makes you not belong. The church isn't a safe space. The church doesn't listen to you. It's too patriarchal. It's just down the list. And so, like, Julie, you're sending this out to people you don't even know what they're going through at all. Well, and that is against every ethical rule that a therapist or a psychologist or a doctor has. You don't prescribe medicine to strangers. You don't do surgery on people without a triage. You don't do this.
Well, and I will say,
blasting it out to strangers.
I will say it is very frustrating for me as a podcaster who tries to be very ethical and in my journalistic offerings on Ward Radio News, and the people that I hire, like Ethan and Luke and so on and so forth, they go to great lengths to make sure that Jacob Hansen is asked for his response, that Julie is asked for his response, that everybody gets an equal opportunity at defending themselves. It's really hard for me to see her in all these photos with, Dan McClellan, Bill Reel, John DeLynn. She seems very willing to be all over super chatting on Cultural Hall's Anti-Mormon podcast, to be
the most
on
toxic guy on the internet.
Sure. I've seen about 30 seconds of his stuff, and yeah, that was like enough toxicity for Bill Reel in 3 hours. So,
well, that's because Bill Reel is just extremely boring.
Okay, maybe you got to distill him down, right? But I mean, if you're willing to go and contribute financially to Cultural Hall, you're willing to go and contribute financially, if not through your platforming, because don't forget, the left is always about, why would you platform such a person, right? So if you're willing to go talk with RFM, and you're willing to go talk with John DeLynn, and you're willing to go financially contribute with Cultural Hall and every anti-Mormon in the book, but you won't come on Ward Radio, which is perceived by many as like this kind of Jack Mormon podcast anyway, that would lead me to think that cynics saying it's because there's not money to be made here, or because you're not trying to build the kingdom. We are a pro-LDS, recklessly faithful podcast. And if the only people you won't talk to in the bloggernacle are the faithful ones, it makes me think you're not cultivating faith, that you're cultivating anti-faith.
Well, in her defense, that's not her audience. She's trying to help people in a faith crisis. And people who watch Ward Radio, I think, typically are not in a faith crisis.
Then she is wildly ignorant of who our audience is, and she is doing the same presupposition that she says she doesn't want made against her. What is our audience demographics like, Jonah, who sees all of the data?
There's a ton of people who are going through faith crises who watch our channel. A ton of them. A ton of young people. A ton of old people. People say, I was inactive for decades. I came back thanks to your podcast. We have a list a mile long of people who have cited us saying, I was on the fringe, I was on the boundary, and I came back. Not because we're life therapists, not because we're disagreeing with apostles.
It's because they appreciate our authenticity and our fairness.
Because we're just authentic dudes.
So she declined.
I stand corrected.
Well, no, I wouldn't say you stand corrected, but I would say she declined to appear. She took a couple of weeks, finally got back to me, and she declined an appearance, saying, she gave that line something along the lines of, I don't think your audience matches, whatever. It's the niceness culture thing. But I'm like, well, why would you prejudge somebody who talks so much about not judging other people incorrectly or harshly? Why would you judge my audience that way? Go, Ethan. I see you raising your hand.
I was going to say, I think Brittany's absolutely right here. And it's because something's going on. And well, it's like I was saying, this is the absolutely normal suburban response. You could even call it I've talked to a number of people that that the left would consider to be in marginalized communities, and they've told me how a lot of times you'll have, especially these middle-aged white women that will, how you say, hyper crowd, over love, over support them, and so basically you find your group and you find where you would expect your group, and it's kind of surprisingly judgmental when you really take a step back and analyze what's going on. So this is entirely normal behavior for someone who has that worldview, who comes from that background and is trying to do what she perceives to be reaching out to the margins, helping people that need help that aren't getting help.
But as defined
That's
by what?
normal. But
silly, wealthy suburban women that have never had real problems, or what?
By woke ideology, by the stuff that they're seeing on TV and in their social media feeds, by pop psychology, stuff like that. But the thing
like
is,
the same people Bill Burr says took their Gucci booted feet over the fence of oppression to take over the BLM movement.
One of the best lines.
Yeah, the same people that said in the 90s, "Oh, I want a black baby," as though children are a Gucci purse or a Prada bag or some kind of Chanel purse. Like,
and I'm gonna plug why Ward Radio is great here, because Ward Radio tried something that all these suburban people would have never thought to do, because it's so radical. We just decided to actually be proud of our faith and to stand for it and just make the argument of why our faith is good, as opposed to apologizing for it.
You know why our faith is good?
Surprisingly, it works.
Yeah.
You know why
it actually works.
You know why it's good? Because we haven't lost our sense of humor. We got memes. Carden, are we getting to these memes?
Oh, yes. Let's get to the last memes and then the responses from Desnat and Jacob Hansen. And you got one from Rachel. Oh.
Just to be clear, I did not reach out to the official Desnat group.
Good, why? Don't. Good, don't bother.
Okay, so more memes. Here we have fiery, but mostly peaceful
You already showed that one.
advice. We already showed it. So next is woke Jesus. And it says, "Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge the Canaanites as the original inhabitants of this land."
Oh, man.
I love woke Jesus. I love woke Jesus so much. I probably read more woke Jesus than I do actual Jesus, because it's so hilarious.
Before I start this Sermon on the Mount, I'd just like to recognize this is a stolen mount. And I would say that's funny. Oh, guys, I got to tell you, from what I understand, the 2020 during COVID, Park City, what's it called? Sundance Film Festival was just a cringe fest. Like, apparently, like, one of the activist groups would start literally like every single film just saying, "We'd like you to remember that this is stolen land." And it was just like,
gosh,
oh my gosh.
I bet.
Okay, so here we go. Woke Jesus. Being a stay-at-home mom is just anti-woman.
Mm-hmm. Now that's almost a direct quote from
Oh man.
Julie Hanks.
Then woke Jesus says, "Your truth. Oh, your truth will set you free." I see what you did there, Jonah. Did you make that one, or did you peel that one off the internet?
I'm just reporting the news, man. You got two news guys here. I don't have an opinion about Julie Hanks.
This one is hilarious, bro. 10 feet back. 10 feet back. Gift ain't enough. Trust me. I have a source.
Trust me, I have a source.
Oh, this is too funny.
He's going like this. He's like, "Hey, whoa, whoa."
That is funny. And the last one here, I got to make it smaller so I can see it. The last one here says, "He that loseth his life for my sake shall find it." Pff, I told y'all, good advice costs money. Oh, and you put Julie's face. I see what you did there.
There's actually one more.
Wait, but wouldn't she be saying good advice doesn't cost money? Did you mess up your own meme, Jonah?
No, she charges a ton for her advice. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay. I don't know.
She's saying, look at this guy for free giving out bad advice like losing your life.
Jeez,
Come to me
brutal.
for better advice.
Then he continues to say,
there's actually one more.
"Yeah, I am the good shepherd. Psh, bishops aren't therapists." And then therapists aren't bishops. Oh, savage. And that's the Karl Bloch painting of Jesus, where didn't Karl Bloch say that he was the man on the bottom right that is also the same face of the man that is at the well painted by Jesus looking to the left?
He puts himself in his painting.
Oh, interesting.
But it's true. Therapists ain't bishops, because bishops do it for free.
Okay.
Bishops do a lot of good and they do it all for free. So bishops aren't therapists. Yeah, proudly they're not therapists.
Oh, wow, man, you came out guns blazing on this one, bro.
No,
See, I would say, bishops aren't therapists, but at the same time, most people I don't think actually need official therapy. They need solid advice from somebody who's spiritually inclined to give it to them and unmotivated by anything other than their well-being. And bedside manner is what most people need. They need visits from their home teachers and personal prayer and revelation. In some circumstances, I think therapy is, of course, the way to go. And hopefully they would have good therapy with good spiritual advice and have both. But
yeah, hey, I love therapists. My favorite one, he's a dude from Canada. He puts out some pretty good content on YouTube occasionally. You might know who I'm referring to.
Okay, Jordan B. Peterson.
Yes,
Neil Young.
Neil
Young. That's where I go for therapy.
Yeah.
Harvest, excellent album.
Okay, awesome. And then last thing that we're going to do is just read the responses from those mentioned by Julie Hanks. So she invokes the name of Jacob Hansen and Desnat. She says, in Dr. Hanks' comments, she referenced Jacob Hansen of Thoughtful Faith directly and Rachel from Woman in Priesthood indirectly. We gave them the chance to respond. Jacob said, what's a Desnat? Also, I only once several years ago sent her stake president a copy of one of my videos just so he was aware of her content that clearly and intentionally contradicted the apostles in the first presidency. I never asked her leaders to do anything. Is that true? So he never actually advocated for any action against her.
That's what he says. He just was like, be aware of this. He did it one time. I believe that was in response to it. Kind of sounded like you could have interpreted what Julie said as Jacob Hansen has done this repeatedly. So I think Jacob was clarifying that he's done that one time, and that the purpose was just so you're aware. This is happening.
Okay, but to push back on Jacob, there's only one reason why you would send someone a video of someone.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's you don't reach out to someone's stake president when this person lives in an entirely different state just so you can say, hey, look at your great member of your stake. It's basically always so that you can
it's not for accolades.
Try to get the excommunication train moving along.
Yeah, it's not. Well, I don't think it's necessarily because you're trying to get the excommunication train. I think that.
But you're trying to start something.
This is what I would say. I would say it is not evidence of a non-combative relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And for me, that does make me a little, I will say this, uncomfortable personally. I do believe pretty heavily in giving bishops and stake presidents license to handle things in their stake, because I do believe that they have priesthood keys. And if they're not living up to that responsibility, that's on them, and they have a high bar spiritually that they have to attain. And so I don't necessarily want them to be failing at that. And so if they feel for some reason that they shouldn't be calling out a member of their stake, I'm going to pray for their sake and for the member of their stake that it's because they're following revelation, and I'm going to try to do my best to trust that. I'm not a fan of external pressures. That almost starts to feel like cancel culture.
You do want to
let her priesthood leaders do it.
And I'd just like to point out that we're all talking about repentance.
Yeah.
That's what disciplinary councils are. It's all repentance.
Yeah.
And so I get what you're saying, Ethan. Like, you don't want to be like pushing someone into a disciplinary council.
Yeah.
But you absolutely do want to be pushing everyone into repentance. Like, everyone into repentance. I think we should be having disciplinary councils on the daily. It should be going on all the time. Like, and people freak out when I say that. And it's like, it's all repentance, guys. That's what it all is. I've been on disciplinary councils. I've been on both sixes in disciplinary councils. I've seen how they go.
The bishops can hold the daily disciplinary councils and just go make the social media better.
Yeah,
go make the social media better.
What I'm saying is it's all repentance.
Okay.
It's all repentance. It's like, how dare somebody say I should repent?
Okay. And so last question here, last thing here before we go is Rachel from Women of the Priesthood responded, Hank's course, quote, choosing to stay in the LDS church, how to do so in a psychologically healthy way sounds oddly familiar. Continuing, that's because it is a cut and paste job from her first course with Valerie Hammaker entitled How to Step Away from the Church in a Psychologically Healthy Way. Oh yeah, Rachel, if I remember correctly, she actually paid the money to take one of Julie's courses. And it was a cut and paste of how to step away from the church in a psychologically healthy way. Ooh, is it true she offered a course called How to Step Away from the Church?
Mm-hmm. So that course is advertised to people who are already choosing to do so, or people. So the idea is you have all these people struggling. Some are choosing to leave. Some are trying to stay, but they've got all these issues with because of their newly adopted feminism or racial issues, plural marriage, whatever it is, right? And so. From what Rachel told me, her critique is, yes, she does have a course to help those people stay in the church who are choosing to stay, but it's basically, all right, yes, I see why you're having a hard time, and then just validating why they're having a hard time, because yes, it's hard with patriarchy, and yes, it's hard because of racism, yes, it's hard because of all these difficult things. But here's how you do it, and it's by claiming your own personal authority, and so then you can ignore whatever you don't like the apostles saying. So that's what Rachel kind of told me is I hear Julie saying that she's trying to help people on both sides, but her method doesn't actually help build faith. That's essentially what Rachel's criticism there was.
Okay, well, anything else I missed before we go? This has been very informative. I feel like I've learned more about Julie Hanks in the past 30 minutes than I have in the past 30 days. So
anybody out there who has a friend who listens to Julie Hanks or whatever, go send them to Women and Priesthood with Rachel Patterson on YouTube. Rachel Patterson is smarter, wiser, more faithful. Go send them to Rachel Patterson. She's awesome. If you're not subscribed to her channel, go do it. We need more voices like her in the church to counteract voices like Dr. Kevorkian.
And actually, you'd mentioned earlier in this podcast too, saying like, why don't we do it? I am all about ethically representing both sides of this argument. I have defended Julie in this podcast vicariously with some of the defenses she told me towards some of her detractors. If you feel that your side of the argument and damage that has been done by bad therapists that are parroting the exact same kind of woke talking points has done damage to you and your family, and you have a specific example, I will gladly bring up with Julie, and I think she would probably be open to the criticism. If you have a verifiable, an actual real, not just why you don't like it. I don't have time for that crap.
Right. But well, you know how suburban niceness is annoying because people are avoiding the hard stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's a way to it's like cowardice is what it is.
Yes. Mormons are the most cowardly, wealthy people on the planet.
Well,
North American Mormons.
Not quite.
Church is a pretty big place, but
yeah.
But it's like cowardice, right? That's exactly what this is. I'm going to put out these messages to hundreds of thousands of people. And if anybody ever asks me, what are you doing? What are you thinking? I'm going to say, oh, hey, whoa. I'm not going to address it. Like RFM saying, am I my brother's keeper? I'm not going to address the real issue and say, yeah, shoot, I'm destroying faith in total strangers that I don't know. That's a very real possibility. That's a reality. No, she doesn't do that. She just hides behind, oh, I've never said anything. It's the same type of cowardice, Cardin, that disgusts you.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And she does it in this very article. She says, oh, no. Oh, perish the thought that I would ever.
When I was doing the investigation into the Tim Ballard stuff, Like the people that had smoking guns, both for and against, that just wouldn't go on the record or even go on anonymously. It was just like, you guys are all cowards. Like you're what they were talking about in the allegory of the olive tree, where it just got rotten and just bad and died, and the wild branch had to come in and save it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the church were just to stay in Utah and still be Utah, it would have failed years ago, because these people stand on the shoulders of giants and think they're flying. They're wallowing in a wealth that has been unparalleled for more generations in the security provided by the sacrifice of the pioneers, that they have just become these rancorous, godless, faithless people that would just be an embarrassment to their great grandfathers.
Wow.
That, you know, built this thing to try and create an empire of faith, and it's degenerated into a wealthy suburb of cowards. You know, it's just, so it's like, that's why sometimes prosecuting Julie Hanks in my mind is so hard, because I just think, in comparison to what? She's just better at marketing than you are. You know, so anyway, this has been a great conversation. I feel enlightened. I feel like I understand a lot more about what's going on now. Thank you very much, Ethan, for doing this work. If you guys want to go to wardradio.com, you can receive in your inbox every single one of these articles when they come out. Just go to Ward Radio and sign up for our newsletter. Make sure you check out Jonah Barnes' book, The Key to the Keystone, on plainandpreciouspublishing.com. And you can check out Ethan Fawcett at Big Ethan on Grindr. He's a top 10 in Salt Lake City.
Okay. This has been another episode of Ward Radio.
Hey, my problem with that statement is I'm in Sanpete County, okay?
Right, Cardin.
Right, cowboy. So anyway, guys,
gotta go.
As we say, babe, did we forget anything before we go?
No, just
Nothing?
end it. Just go.
It's been real, and it's been fun, and it's been real fun. For this and more, please make sure you check us out at wardradio.com. Hey guys, thanks for watching the video. We assume if you made it this far that you liked our content. So please make sure that you smash that like button and you share this video with your friends. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet to our channel, please make sure that you subscribe and you press the alert button so you receive alerts on every one of our daily uploads. Now, we want to make sure that we keep all of this content flowing for free to you, the viewer. And to do that, we need your help. If you're a person of means, please consider a direct contribution through Venmo or through Zelle. And the links to those platforms will be in the description as well. Also, if you want to help us out, please make sure you buy some of our merch. We got really cool hats, really cool t-shirts for both boy and girl viewers, all available on wardradio.com. And while you're there, you can sign up for our Ward Radio newsletter. You can receive all the really great Ward Radio news directly in your inbox simply by putting your email address in wardradio.com. And finally, if you guys want to help out purchasing some of the equipment in the studio, you can always check out our Amazon wish list that is also available in the description of this video. And either way, whether you're pressing this button here to make sure you're subscribed to our channel, or whether you're watching another video here just because you like our stuff, we look forward to seeing you guys in the next program.